What's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Hope you're doing all right. A little small Saturday crowd for now. Got basketball on. It's a good time to chill out. It's 60 degrees where I'm at, so it's a little bit warmer than usual. I hope you guys have been chilling out today, vibing out. Shout out to Conscious, Ducking, Shane, Mo, Dang Lazy Mofo, J. Cole, Jermaine, Cole, Mr. Nice Watch. What up, Lewis, Vic in the chat. I hit $20 on Flex Friday, 25x, 6-pick slip on PrizePicks. Let's go, Shane. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What up, Charles? How'd you guys do last night? Like the hack video? Yeah, I told you guys yesterday that I had it. I had about 15. It started out at 16 minutes. I got it down to 15. Then yesterday when I was live, I had it down to 13. I think I finally got it all the way down to 11 minutes. Because those videos are, it's hard to listen to somebody just blabber for that long. So hopefully those of you that did check it out found it valuable. And you can start using that information on DraftKings tonight. The most frequently asked question I'm getting after posting that video is, what about FanDuel? And I'm going to be honest, I don't really know. I know FanDuel does have shark prevention methods, but I don't really know what they are, and I don't know at what stakes and how much. So maybe I'll reach out to them, see if I can get some clarity on that, and make a video tailored for FanDuel. And somebody asked about PrizePicks. I don't know what you expect on PrizePicks. You're not going against anybody, What up, Brad? Curry and Van Vliet saved me and cashed on FanDuel. Let's go. Last night, top scorer on the slate, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 70.5 fantasy points on DraftKings. Steph Curry, number 2, 66.25. Number 3, Darius Garland, 63 fantasy points. Unlike the previously mentioned top scorers, he was only 8,300 on DraftKings. SGA right behind him, holding hands with Ja Morant at 59. So essentially the same play. You got almost a fantasy point more from SGA, and then Fred VanVleet dropped you a 50 bomb. Top of the board was pretty much expected. We got one of those random Clay days, 45 fantasy points at 6,500 on DraftKings. You'd want that. TJ McConnell continues to be ridiculously efficient, sometimes not in tons of minutes. 32 minutes yesterday, 45 fantasy points, and we talked about how people would be pessimistic about the matchup, Drew Holiday defense, blah 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 blah, and I was like, dude, this guy does a little bit of everything. He had 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, and yeah, he did have 19 real points, but the fact that he was able to stuff the stat sheet. And then at some point when a game gets blown out, Drew Holiday's not playing his grade A defense with the 20-point lead. You know what I mean? So I do think people overthought that to an extent. But man, when will TJ McConnell fail? Because he's been killing it. Shout out to whoever was in chat yesterday on Colin Anderson points yesterday. The line was 9. He dropped 23 of them. D'Angelo Russell also almost triple-doubled. Evan Mobley with a big game. For the most part, pretty much expected. OG Anunoby got injured in the Raptors-Warriors game. And, we talked about Precious Achiuwa yesterday. Probably ran a little bit good based on the Anunoby injury. But if you guys just played him on a hunch, he dropped 36 fantasy points out the center spot at 4,200. So, notable performances from yesterday's slate. Hope you guys did well. Any big news about last night from you guys? What up, Noel? Hope you're doing all right. Buchanan. LeVert sucks. We got some Karis LeVert hate. Hey, we talked about how LeVert's clearly the third behind Mobley and Garland. Failed in FanDuel yesterday. Man, FanDuel's been making it really rough when it comes to value the last couple of weeks. So for whatever reason, we've seen almost a philosophical change in pricing. I don't know if it's on purpose or coincidental, but it used to be play whoever you want on FanDuel, and DraftKings is, go with one stud and good luck. Well, the last couple weeks, especially the last week, it's kind of felt like the opposite. I prefer the loose pricing. Did I miss something yesterday? I wasn't on D-Lo, but it was 60% owned and did work. 60% owned? Yeah, I didn't have 60% of them. I had a ton of... my core ended up being like Mobley, Darius Garland. I had a lot of John Morant, a lot of SGA. Pretty solid. Pat Connaughton was pretty high owned too. Got there. Perhaps continuing to benefit from the absence of Bobby Portis, from Chris Middleton not starting, yada, yada, yada. So stuff to keep an eye on. Anyway, we've got 9 games on the docket tonight, so we do need to get a little bit of research going. So let's move over to the main screen. I do want to make note about the coupon code for today. So tonight, in honor of the Royal Rumble, one of my favorite things every year, if you use the coupon code RUMBLE, you'll get 30% off. Get it? 30 entries into the Royal Rumble. The caveat with this one versus any other promo we've done in the last couple weeks, there's a limit on how many times this can be used. And you might have guessed what the limit is. The limit is 30 times. So the first 30 people that grab onto this information and go get a pass, no matter what it is, week pass, 2 week pass, whatever, only the first 30 people can use that code. So for instance, for the year pass, which was just dropped $100 2 days ago anyway, so this is actually kind of stupid that this is a thing. The year pass, if you put coupon code RUMBLE, it's going to take it from a $500 deal to $350. And remember, that's coming with a $150 credit towards Fantasy Cruncher. That's stupid. That's actually dumb. That shouldn't be. So take advantage of it. Have fun with the Rumble promotion, and then hey, if you watch the Rumble tonight, hope you enjoy it, because I'm gonna be watching it. We're gonna be doing Rumble squares in the Discord. It's a yearly tradition. We'll talk more about that promotion again a little bit later. I do want to go check out Underdog, see if we got any news to watch. Want to see the Rock in the Rumble? You guys think they're working us? You think on purpose they've let the story come out that The Rock said he hasn't been in shape? I feel like I would want that to be what people think, to keep the surprise. Cody Rhodes, yeah, big one as well. That'll be fun. Made my Saturday by streaming. Man, I appreciate that. Hey, I think we only got to 99 likes yesterday, and the deal was 100, but whatever. LeBron James questionable, Anthony Edwards questionable, Anthony Davis probable, Kristaps Porzingis doubtful, Rudy Gobert questionable, Yusuf Nurkic questionable, Time Lord questionable, OG Anunoby to be determined, Jeremy Sohan questionable, and Marcus Morris questionable. So all those pretty important pieces of news. Let's go jump into the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet and get going. Houston Rockets at the Detroit Pistons. Project starting 5 for the Rockets. Who knows at point guard? I've seen Daishen Nix. I've seen Ty Washington. I've seen Josh Christopher. One of those three likely to draw the start here. Eric Gordon, Kenyon Martin, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Şengün. Up against Jaden Ivey, Alec Burks, Sadiq Bey, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Jalen Duren. A 236.5 total. The Pistons favored by 4. Pistons also potentially have a little versatility in what their starting lineup could be, as the last game was this version of the lineup, but we've seen a version that features Killian Hayes and Jaden Ivey as well, and Isaiah Stewart. So there is a little bit of volatility, I guess, in trusting both starting lineups. There's a lot of volatility here, but what we can probably do is plant a decent chunk of minutes on a few guys and a decent chunk of usage on a few guys. I think the apple of our eye starting off on the Rocket side is Şengün, who has enjoyed a big spike in minutes per game during this stretch without Kevin Porter Jr., as well as usage. So just straight up this season, Şengün on the court, Kevin Porter Jr. off the court. Using the Wowie tool to add more funds. we've got Şengün at a 24% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy point per minute on both FanDuel and DraftKings, and a 25% assist rate. And I don't know that we could have a ton of sample here without Jalen Green, but to try and create something that we might see tonight, taking Jalen Green off the court in this split, we are left with, drum roll, man, we're going kind of slow right now. What up, Crispy? Hope you're doing all right. 160 minutes, Şengün 1.4 fantasy point per minute on both sides, 25% usage rate. The assist rate goes down. I think that's likely because some of those assists are going to Jalen Green, but still above 20%. So the 1.4 fantasy point per minute is really, really nice. Now the minutes, 160 minutes of sample size, really, really low. And we saw the Rockets get a little freaky with it during that last game. I'll show you what I mean. Pull up the minute rotation from that Cavs game. And it also could have been a product of the Cavs front court being Twin Towers, Mobley, and Jared Allen. But how fun is this? Boban Marjanovic was on the court with Şengün to close the first half. I think that was pretty circumstantial, but it popped Twitter, and it was a lot of fun in the moment. So all things to say this, Şengün's looking like a great play tonight, pushing a 50 fantasy point projection on both sites. I got him at 50 on FanDuel, which is linear scoring to PrizePicks. So what does PrizePicks have him at? They have him at 46.5. So I'm certainly over on that. Not a strong over, right? A lot of times for me to feel great, I got guys at 5, 6, 7 fantasy points above the PrizePicks line, but I'm definitely somewhat interested in that. And then the assist line is at 6 over here on PrizePicks, and that's kind of where he's lived at minimum. But we did say that assist rate took a small hit backwards in the absence of Jalen Green, but it's not a significant one. So if we all agree that Şengün will enjoy a ton of usage, volume, and opportunity here, I think a lot of props for Şengün will be fun to plant some action on. Past him, the Rockets get a little bit tricky to predict and project for tonight. I think once the starting lineup comes out, then we'll start kind of putting the dominoes in place on where to feel great. On DraftKings, a $4,500 Eric Gordon, referencing back to this on-off court tool, he could get there, 0.83 fantasy point per minute in a similar split. Matter of fact, let's go back to taking off Jalen Green just to see if there's any increase in per minute production for Eric Gordon. You feel like he can't go backwards. You also feel like there can't be a ton of sample size. 0.92. So he does go forward, and he is officially second in usage. There's guys like Terry Eason, Kenyon Martin Jr., Jabari Smith, all these guys above 20% in the very, very small sample size. So they're all going to lay claim to having a reason to be in our player pool tonight, and they're all pretty doggone cheap. So I do think there's some landmines here. I think the best way to attack this is maybe throw all these trolley guys in a group and max one of 3, like a Knicks, Ty Washington, Josh Christopher, and Garrison Matthews. And then once that starting lineup comes out, you put a little extra weight on who's starting and kind of go from there. But I do kind of like the thought of Eric Gordon. The Pistons have been an atrocious defense. I think one of the only defenses worse than the Houston Rockets. So this is a plus spot for everyone, and vice versa. On the Pistons side, Alec Burks is still 4,500. So if he does draw the start again like he did last game, and you wonder if that is going to be something they run back, I would assume they do, because it worked against Brooklyn. We saw 30 minutes of Alec Burks, and we've always known Alec Burks to be pretty much a point per minute when he gets opportunity to have some usage here. So against the Houston Rockets at $4,500, I like that price point on him. And then Jaden Ivey in that last outing got an opportunity without Killian Hayes to be productive, and he was also a little bit better than a point per minute. So there's a lot to like here. This is a stackable game. I think the Pistons offer a little bit more predictive value in terms of minute projections once that lineup comes out, but there's a lot to like here. So I'm going to be pretty high on this game, and I will probably get up to 3 guys in a lineup at these prices on both sites, really. So when I'm setting my fantasy cruncher rules, maximum amount of players from this team, blah, 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 I think I'm definitely getting up to 3 Pistons, and I'll likely get to an area where I'm up to 3 Rockets. But I'll be honest, I just don't feel super warm and fuzzy on projecting the Rockets with a lot of confidence. It gives me quasi Thunder vibes from last night. You guys got anything specifically on this game that you like? What up, AOD? Jokic got a foul. Phone is blowing up right now. Magic hosting the Bulls. Next game on the docket. This is also right at lock. Ayo Dosunmu, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic taking on Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris Jr., Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. Revenge. 230.5 total, 2.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Bulls. Have seen some hype on Twitter today about the Wendell Carter game logs against Chicago. You guys know, traded away from Chicago. I think it was involved in this whole Vucevic deal. He does have a good history against Chicago, but I'm not really a subscriber of versus the jersey splits, especially if it's not at the city. But 6,400 for Wendell Carter, just straight up projection wise, looks solid. I'm getting almost a 6x return, a little bit better than 5.5. And we've seen a couple of outings for Carter in the last week worth putting in the mix, in the blender. 32, 37, 40, 28. I would take that range of outcomes at this price point today and understand, a couple of these matchups were a little less than stellar. One game against the Bulls this season, 36 fantasy points. So again, does that separate you from the field in terms of an elite return at that price point on this slate? No. And on this slate, being the larger amount of games, I weight ceiling a little bit more. But I do think the DraftKings price point is something I get to a little bit more than the FanDuel price point, independent of the narrative. But I just thought it was funny that was the first thing I saw on Twitter today when I logged on, was Wendell Carter faces the Bulls. Still a $1,200 discrepancy between Markelle Fultz's FanDuel price and DraftKings price. So again, I'm more likely to get there on DraftKings. But this Magic rotation has been pretty deep, as they've been healthier now than they were earlier in this season. So the volatility rises, and on a slate this big, I probably don't get here at an exceptional rate, but some tier 3 drops in the bucket of Banchero, Wendell Carter, and Fultz on DraftKings is my likeliest outcome. And then probably go back to the big 3 mix there on LaVine, DeRozan, and Vooch. Vooch continues to let me down when I really, really like him. But if you are a narrative guy, putting Vooch back in Orlando, sure, we can have some fun with that. One game earlier this season, 53 fantasy points. The DVP is neutral to negative, so we're just betting on usage, and I think the FanDuel price point is really, really nice. Rebound rate for both teams, lukewarm. The defensive rebound rate for the Bulls, really, really good. Not so much offensively. Vooch is getting me a pretty solid projection, though. 49 on the FanDuel price. I'd absolutely take that, and Vooch is about just inside the top 10 on raw fantasy point projection. So if I had to create a podium for Vooch, DeRozan, LaVine, it's probably Vooch 1, which it usually always is. And then it's kind of a toss-up between LaVine and DeRozan. I think today I'd lean more DeRozan than LaVine, and that's how I'd rank that. And I would probably want to avoid getting to 2 of the 3 in a lineup in this game. Yeah. Moving on to the next game. Chat, you guys are dead right now. I thought my internet dropped. I'm looking over. There's nothing. I'm doing better preaching than y'all are amening. Clippers at the Hawks. Projected starting 5 for the Clippers: Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Ivica Zubac, taking on Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella. We got 232.5 total. 1 point spread in favor of the visiting LA Clippers. Paul George still pretty cheap, all things considered, especially relative to his ceiling on both sites, FanDuel at 8,600 to reward maybe those stocks that 1.5 stocks or steals per game, essentially 2 stocks per game. Kind of the same for Kawhi Leonard, starting to go down, dipping below the 10K range. Both guys are playable at these price points. Obviously, we would love to have one guy out to feel better about the floor and, you know, that they don't vulture each other. But a matchup against a team like the Atlanta Hawks breeds upside. The Hawks have been a fast-paced team and a solid enough offense. If we look at the team metrics team and sort it from offensive rating, greatest offensive rating to worst in the league, Atlanta's actually worse than I thought they were, but they're still got some green on them because the Hornets and Rockets exist. So the pace is up, so more implied possessions, and a guy like Trae Young, we know he can turn the ball over. So I like the thought of George and Kawhi. I do probably set a rule to where it's one or the other, not both, and then go from there. Zubac on both FanDuel and DraftKings, a decent enough price point. Would like to feel a little bit better about his minute projections to get to him at an elevated clip. On the Hawks side, Trae Young, 9,600 on both sites. I would really want to see the north side of 50 fantasy points on a slate this big. And looking at raw fantasy point projections, there's a lot of guys above Trae Young from this far out in the projections. So that I could see him falling through the cracks. DeJounte Murray has a projection that's about 5 fantasy points less than where Trae Young is at now, and that's about what you would expect at his price point, 8,500 on FanDuel, but 8K on DraftKings. Really nice price point for a guy that has a ceiling we're chasing and isn't immune to dropping 40 plus. So I think I get to more Murray than Trae Young today, and I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but I think that's just how I approach it. But I don't really see myself getting to an exuberant amount of either. The front court, Capella, as long as Okongwu is healthy, it's hard for me to feel great about one or the other. I know there's some volatility about who could close out. We have seen Capella in the last 2 seasons get benched in the fourth quarter because of his free throw shooting woes. So unless Okongwu was out, I wouldn't feel comfortable about attaching myself to too much Capella here. So I probably don't. With that said, 5,900 is a pretty low price on DraftKings for Capella, somebody that could really offer a double-double. He's averaging a double-double on the season and has an incredible rebound rate. So I wouldn't fault you for playing him on a slate like tonight where my eyes are looking up for ceiling production. I think there's enough pushback for me to not be overly invested, but I might throw him in the bottom of the tier 3 because of the price point and kind of put a low ceiling on it in terms of ownership exposure, something like 8%, and kind of see what happens, you know? We're taking notes. Let's go. Now, I remember I was in the church house one day, and my preacher was just going in, you know what I'm saying? But it was quiet. And I was literally taking notes. I had my binder, you know, just writing what the preacher man is saying. And then he just stops and he looks around, and we're all just looking up, and he goes, "Amen." and he goes, I'm doing better preaching than y'all are, amen. And then he just went back into it, and it just kind of stirred us up. I loved it. Moving on, Wizards at the Pelicans. Project starting 5 for the Wizards. Monte Morris, Bradley Beal, Corey Kispert, Kyle Kuzma, Daniel Gafford up against CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Jonas Valanciunas. 230 total, 4.5 point spread. Favor of the home team, New Orleans Pelicans. Kristaps Porzingis still likely down. I have not an official tag on him, but I'm assuming that's closer to doubtful. Let me go see what's going on with that. Yeah, doubtful. Okay. Oh man. Monte Morris looks like he's good to go. So the curious case of Bradley Beal, huh? It's something that I think a lot of us who've been playing for years don't quite understand. But for whatever reason, Bradley Beal is not playing minutes right now, and you think he would be. 30 minutes is just kind of his recent cap. And you know, we discovered the other day, even looking at, you know, this 5-foul game against Dallas, that was late fouls. He is just not playing more than 30 minutes, and these are competitive ball games. So it's hard to get to a confident projection on Bradley Beal because I want to project him for 34, 35, 36 minutes. And I think those extra 5 minutes will go a long way at these price points, especially the DraftKings price point. But he's not getting those minutes right now. DeLon Wright, Danny Avdija, Monte Morris, Kendrick Nunn recently introduced to the team. And in his first outing for the Wizards, what did he play? 22 minutes? I mean, this just for whatever reason, Beal is not getting the extended run. Could that change on a dime's notice on somebody's foul trouble or a rolled ankle? Sure. And I think 7,300 is a really low price if we can get an opportunity at single-digit ownership to attack it. But yeah, I just don't know what to say about those minutes. What we do know is that Kyle Kuzma has been playing minutes and has been pretty productive in the opportunity that he's been given. 20-plus shot attempts as far as the eye can see here. And the rebounds are there. I think in this particular matchup, looking at the Pelicans, they have really good rebound rates. So it's not one of those spots where I'm expecting 20-plus rebounds, but 20-plus shot attempts is a lot of doggone volume. And I think at 8,500 on FanDuel, that's too much volume to shy away from. Let's get an official number on Kuzma's per minute production. So let's go to the Washington, which is right here. You think he's hurt? I think it's possible. They going to trade Beal. Didn't Beal like sign that massive contract and has like a no trade clause and blah blah blah? I feel like Beal has a dangerous chance to be like a Damian Lillard, where everyone assumes that he's going to be traded, but he doesn't want to be traded. You know what I mean? But I guess Damian Lillard's been way more vocal about not wanting to be traded. So let's take Porzingis off. Fudge. The other thing that's benefiting people on the Wizards is the Rui Hachimura trade. Now that Kendrick Nunn is back or is on the team, getting minutes on the second unit, maybe it takes away from Denny a little bit, but I don't think it really does, because it is two different positions, and we've seen Danny Avdija's rebound rate be actually dumb. So let's put Kuzma and Beal on. I feel like this site's going a little slower for me. Slower than I want it to. Getting Hughes to the right looks like that might be a must. But yeah, Keith, I completely agree. It looks like a spot where there's landmines, but you can't avoid walking on that field because there's some great opportunity there. Beal has a 28% usage rate, pretty linear with Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma has been almost a 1.2 fantasy point per minute. So the per minute production is very similar, but the minutes are like an 8-point gap between one to the other, and that's been in favor of Kyle Kuzma. So assuming that stays the same today, I think on FanDuel, when there's only a $500 difference between Beal and Kuzma, the research is pushing us more towards Kuzma, right? Somebody said Gafford looks good. Vic said that. Yeah, Gafford's getting a pretty solid projection. There's a lot of getting you over run-of-the-mill 30 fantasy point projections from some of these 45, 5K, 55, 6K centers today. So they're all in the blender for me. And then Avdija. Avdija's the other guy I want to touch on while we're here. So let's go back to the Washington minute rotation. Dang, we're only 30 minutes in. No, man, I'm not. We zooming. So Avdija got 29 minutes in that last outing. Was on the court for the most part in the fourth quarter as well. Look at that Mavericks game, a 1-point game. That was the first game I want to say without Rui Hachimura. We saw 32 minutes from Avdija, and then in that Magic game, that was a game that did have Hachimura, and Avdija played 24 minutes. So Avdija's been getting run no matter what, but I do think he's getting a boost here without Hachimura. So let's see. Just out of, I guess we just game log check that. But the other thing I want to give Avdija credit for is his rebound rate. Look here, 10 rebounds in the 2 games since Hachimura's absence. Bing bong.
Beast with super chatted $1.99.
Yo, what up, Beast? Yo, I appreciate that. 2 days in a row, coming in hot. That's love. Thank you. If you guys want to click on Beast's name. He's starting from the bottom, grinding a PrizePicks content channel, and reached out. I've been talking to him, trying to get some pointers, trying to make him the best version of him that he could be for you guys. So check out his channel. All right, so Avisa has an 18% defensive rebound rate and a 11.5% total rebound rate. And I want to look at this split here for, let's just put Avisa. Oh, man, how can I display this appropriately? The point I'm trying to drive across is Avisa is better at rebounding than most people probably assume. So, to put this in perspective, let's go to the month of January. And then let's put Porzingis off. Going to the Lightning game. Let's go. My boy Fish was at the Panthers game yesterday. Let's take off Hachi and Porzingis. And in this split alone, now this is not Kyle Kuzma related, but 110 minutes this month without Porzingis and Hachimura on the court, Avisa has 17.1% of the team's total rebound opportunities with a 25% defensive rebound rate. And then how much overlap do we might expect with Kuzma? I guess Kuzma's playing 38 minutes. There's going to be some. But looking at the last game, Avisa first run came with a little bit of Kuzma. There's decent enough overlap between Avisa and Kuzma. A lot. So let's go ahead and put them on the court together for this split, for this exercise. And he's still a higher rebound rate than Kuzma here. Actually, a drastically higher rebound rate, 17.8%, and Kuzma's down to 7% of the team's total rebound opportunities. So, can we make any money off of that news? Would PrizePicks offer rebounds for Avisa? Or let's put Denny Avia. Nope. Okay. All right. So we said all that to say this. I think Denny Avisa is in my player pool. He's 4,500 on DK. He's not scoring dependent, but can score and has been getting to the boards at an aggressive clip. So I like Avisa quite a bit as a strong value option for us tonight. I don't want to trust Kendrick Nunn, but 3,500 if he's going to get an opportunity at 20 minutes, sure. I also want to make sure. I think that last game where he got 22 minutes was also coinciding with Monte Morris being out. Yeah, it was. And DeLon Wright got 25 minutes there. So if you put Monte Morris back in the mix and DeLon Wright goes back down a peg, Kendrick Nunn can be anything from, a DNP to, 12 minutes or 15 minutes on the low end of that split. So don't chase after Kendrick Nunn, even though 3,500 looks interesting if you were to see something like the 20 minutes you saw in the last game. But it's not likely that he would with everybody healthy here. So give me Kuzma, Gafford, Avisa. On the Pelican side, Brandon Ingram's back in the first night where we thought that he was going to be eased back into things and limited. He was 26 minutes. Don't know how much more we're going to build off of that. Typically a couple minutes here would be my guess. I might be over projecting him right now at 33 minutes, but I think the fact that there is, even if it's a glass ceiling, a ceiling on his minute projection, it's enough to where the CJ McCollum price point probably hasn't gotten back to where it should be, and Jonas Valanciunas is probably a little bit on the risky end. So I think there's a great chance that I just end up extremely down ownership-wise on Pelicans, potentially all the way out to in like a batch of 20 lineups. So just assuming that everyone's healthy that we're looking at is in, then yeah, I can't see any priorities, and no one's like profiling as an incredibly great play. Does maybe McCollum, is there a way, let's see, do we think maybe McCollum's assist percentage could go up here, just out of curiosity? Let's put Zion off, let's put McCollum on. And then let's do 2 splits. Let's take Ingram off. .29% assist rate with Ingram off. And then putting Ingram back on. I don't think we're going to beat 29. It's 25. Yeah, it actually goes down a little bit. So, all right, I guess no palpable benefit in the assist category. So yeah, I can't really see myself being overly invested on the Pelicans here. Moving on to the Kings at the Timberwolves. This 8 p.m. Eastern. We got De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis taking on D'Angelo Russell. Crossing over with Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Kyle. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? Rudy Gobert, 237.5 total, 3-point spread in favor of the Sacramento Kings. The T-Wolves on night 2 of a back-to-back, right? Last night, saw a lot of tilt when it came to the minutes of Rudy Gobert. Gobert ended up offering 31 minutes, but there was a stretch in the first quarter. As a matter of fact, I think 31 still, for Gobert's sake, is a little on the low end. I understand that the groin injury is what it is, but yeah, 34, 36 minutes in the 2 games prior. So he lost at least 5 minutes there, and there was a little bit of fouls in the right side. But let me see something. Rudy Gobert's first stretch had 1 foul. Just 1 foul. So I don't think it was foul induced. So maybe it was just taking it easy on him on a back-to-back, and we ended up seeing Nathan Knight get extended run in the third quarter and made an appearance in the first quarter and into the second quarter. So on a back-to-back, Rudy Gobert's hanging on to this Q tag. This is what he had yesterday, and now we also have Anthony Edwards with a tag on him. So let's get the update on those two and see if we can't lean one way or the other. Edwards is questionable with a right wrist sprain. Added to the injury report on second night of a back-to-back, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we'll see if that happens. And then Rudy Gobert, second night of a back-to-back, questionable with the same groin. I think it's possible that on a back-to-back you would rest Rudy Gobert, especially when it looked like his minutes were being conservative. What the with his minutes there last night. So I think there is some potential news from this game that could switch up the approach. Gobert's on my ban list. First of all, if Anthony Edwards didn't play, I want to say we would run, not walk, to D'Angelo Russell. But let's get to the Wowie to put some actionable information behind that statement. So let's put Russ. Let's take off Cat. And let's put Edwards on so we can do the comparison between the 2 splits. Gobert. I make stupid decisions when it construction of a lineup. So in this split, we got a 22% usage rate on D-Russ, 28% on Edwards, and then we take Edwards off. What up, Jake? Hope you're doing all right. D-Russ's usage goes to 24.6%, so it's actually not a big increase. It's a lateral, really. The per minute production is still about 1 fantasy point per minute. Who else benefits here? I want to say Kyle Anderson's at 16%. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting a massive projection from D-Russ right now, and I think it's because I was playing with it and took Anthony Edwards out. So if Anthony Edwards does miss, because he's over a fantasy point per minute already, he likely gets baked into 38 minutes anyway, right? It's just hard for me to not land on 6,900 D'Angelo Russell, an aggressive clip here. Almost triple-double last night. Do we have a PrizePicks line on D-Russ? Other Russ. D'Angelo. No. All right. So it looks like they're holding out on us. I think because of the spot, D'Angelo Russell would probably be tier 1 if Edwards was out. I don't really care about the Gobert impact, but if Edwards was down, I got to look at D'Angelo Russell. And then looking at guys like Jalen Noel, 3,400. We saw in this split, Jalen Noel actually had, in limited sample size, a similar usage, 23% usage. So within 1.5%, 2% usage of D'Angelo Russell, the production hasn't been as rock steady, but that's coming with some variance because he is going to be more offensive in terms of scoring fantasy points than anything, right? Last night 6, 5, 8. Do we have? Let's see. What's the last game Anthony Edwards would have missed? I guess we could go to. Let's go D'Angelo Russell, DKP by game log without Anthony Edwards last 10 games. Let's just see if this gives us a date. Roundabout ways to get information quickly, right? I don't really care about the production here, but it's just giving me March 5th and March 4th of last year. So that's not really worth comparing to this year. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna go off the hunch, right? D-Ross is likely gonna be smashed. What up, Shark? Appreciate the like. Played Fulton Wagner last night. Dang. Hit 500 on PrizePicks. Let's go, Shane. Gotta love PrizePicks. Love it. Kyle Anderson's gonna look good on both sides. So the Kyle Anderson impact here, and I know right now we're stuck on the Anthony Edwards thing. And that one's kind of like hit or miss. Rudy Gobert, I think, has a real chance to not play tonight just because he's been banged up and it is a back-to-back. And I think the Kyle Anderson impact is real. So putting Kyle Anderson on the court in this split, let's just, I don't know, Gobert, Kyle Anderson together. Anderson has a 4, which is crazy that this is creating this split, but 16% usage on Kyle Anderson, the 9.5% total rebound rate, and then when we took Gobert off the court, no, I guess it's pretty lateral. What if we take Edwards off as well? I don't know, man. I want to believe in Kyle Anderson. I'm always so pessimistic when it comes to Kyle Anderson because in Memphis there were several slates where I ended up just being extremely invested in him and he just flaked on me, and then like nights like last night he drops 20 plus real points and everyone's in. All right, I gotta go with the model. The model likes him for 30 plus. I think all the T-Wolves gonna look pretty good. The Kings have been so good offensively that other teams have to keep up. And because of the high projected pace here, these are two of the top pace teams in basketball. So many implied possessions. So it's gonna look really, really good for all the check boxes that projection models are based off of. That I don't really see that many guys that I won't get to at a high amount, but hopefully we get the Gobert and Anthony Edwards news early enough, I guess, to make decisions, unless you have a hunch, like if you think Gobert's out and you want to just preload your lineups with like Naz Reid, we know how that can go, or Nathan Knight, sure, but that's so yucky. The Edwards news is big, though. On the Kings side, Sabonis is 9.8 on FanDuel, 10.3 on DraftKings. Obviously, the matchup looks a little bit more enticing if Gobert is out. But no matter what, I think he's such a high-usage guy and does a little bit of everything that he's just into player pool. When I was looking at the projections earlier, Sabonis actually had a top 2, top 3 amount of raw fantasy points. But again, I think I got to fix that. I had taken out Anthony Edwards, so I think that's a little bit irresponsible, and I forgot to fix it before I went live. but I still think he has a real chance to be the top scorer on the slate. And with that said, it's not like a Luka slate. He's out. It's not like Jokic or Giannis or somebody like that. So if Sabonis' 60 fantasy points leads the slate in scoring, it's not a stunner. And other guys that could, guys like LeBron James, a little bit more pushback because of Anthony Davis being back. Lillard, we'll talk about him. He has a chance. So I guess it's not unfair to say that Sabonis could be the highest raw fantasy scorer on the slate. So I want to get to that. I like the $8,300 price point on Fox. I'll get to it where I can. And yeah, I think just whatever drops from this game. It's a pretty enticing stackable game. Let's get caught up on chat. Randall was my spend up on the early slate with Jokic. How's that going? I'm going to take a look at the early slate. What's going on over there? Dang, Embiid's going in right now, huh? Randall hasn't started yet? Okay. Oh, then you're good then. Well, I guess if you had Embiid. But Jokic, it's the night is young. The day is young for Jokic. Suns at the San Antonio Spurs. Project 75 for the Suns. Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Torrey Craig, DeAndre Ayton. Taking on Trey Jones, Romeo Langford, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? 232 total, 5-point spread in favor of the visiting Phoenix Suns. We got Devin Booker down, Payne down, Shamet down. And on the Spurs side, we got Langford, Richardson, Sohan, all with some tags. Is this lingering stuff that is just maintenance? I don't know. No, it looks like all cute. So Romeo Langford, questionable with left adductor tightness. Jeremy Sohan, left quad contusion. And Josh Richardson, right knee soreness. Trade-itis, maybe. All right, so that is news that could represent some sway in minutes here. I think DeAndre Ayton's looking like the guy screaming at me here, right? We run this query all the time. DeAndre Ayton leads the Suns in usage in this split without Devin Booker, but with another game under our belt, we'll put a little bit more minutes on the sample size. So let's put Paul and Ayton on the court. Let's put Devin Booker off the court. Jokic's kind of tripped up. Oh yeah, you'll be all right. Yeah, 28% usage there for DeAndre Ayton, representing 19.6% of the team's total rebound opportunities. And the San Antonio Spurs have a 70% defensive rebound rate. That's got to be like the worst in basketball, right? So what that means is putback opportunities for... That's not the worst. There's 4 teams with a worse. Pacers, the Nets, wow. The Thunder and the T-Wolves. That's crazy. Rudy Gobert's not taking the shots. How? That's crazy. So what do we got on Ayton props then? Ayton's at 19.5 points. 36.5 fantasy. I guess the minute projection would be the scary part, because there is Biyombo and Jock Landale. Do we? Let's see. I guess that's the speed bump here. Is coming back from injury. What do we do about that? Well, first quarter, last game, 6.5 minutes, 10 minutes in the second quarter, so 16 minutes in the first half. Looks like they waited a little bit to put him on the court in the fourth quarter. I don't know, man. I really want to buy into an Ayton ceiling game here. But it is possible that 30 minutes is kind of the area. Although, I don't know, man. Let's go look at that Nets game. He had 5 fouls in 32 minutes against the Nets. So he missed about a week, right? So it's fair to worry about his conditioning. And the game prior, It doesn't even look like he was missing a lot of run, but no fouls in the first run. 1 foul in the second run. 3 fouls in the third run. That's probably where they yank him, but that's probably a normal yank anyway. And then the game prior. Oh, man, I want to believe, but I can't get to an elevated minute projection, at least not while Biyombo is right behind him. Let's go back to page 1. Here, what up, Paul? What up, Prince? LeVert and Poole, top 2 sales, man. Yeah, he sold the bag. LeVert though was always a range of outcome. And so is Jordan Poole. When Jordan Poole is going to share the court with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, they're going to take turns on who's going off, right? And yesterday it was Klay and Steph, so Jordan Poole was all the way on the outside. So Ayton's immediate backup against Dallas was Biyombo. And then there was a stretch where I guess who's playing center right here? Or was it just ultra small ball because the Mavs didn't have nobody? I don't know. I'm spending too much time. I'm trying to convince myself to play DeAndre Ayton. Anyway, I'm getting a 40 fantasy point projection. I think I'd take the risk on getting to Ayton at a decent clip just because everything is so pure about this spot. You know, leading the team in usage, and the Spurs are, I believe, the worst team at defending points in the paint. If it's not them, it's like the Pistons, but they're right up there. Bottom 4 in offensive rebounds, a lot of putback potential as well, and points in the paint allowed. The Spurs give up the most. So this is a dream spot for DeAndre Ayton. I'm just having struggles getting to a healthy minute projection, but I'm fine with that. With that said, I have him at 42 fantasy points for FanDuel on a 30-minute projection. So the minute projection is fine. And in contrast to what PrizePicks has, which is the same scoring, they have him at 36. So I have almost a 5-point difference. And my gut's just kind of leaning towards the over here. I think it's such a good spot for him. And I think if he did that, it probably came on the back of a 20-10 double-double. So give me the over on Ayton, 36.5 fantasy points. But we're hoping that he's really efficient in his minutes if he is indeed limited. Mikal Bridges, 37 minutes against a bad defense. I'll put that in a blender, see what happens. And then on the Spurs side, I don't have any warm or fuzzies here. I think this is just a cesspool. I think Zach Collins has been the most intriguing guy to take a shot on for obscure value on DraftKings. His price has gone up a little bit since the last 2 games where he was 36 and $3,700. But between 19-24 minutes, we know his per minute production is pretty good. I think this price point is at least enough to where, like, if you got 22, you're kind of dead. But was he at all protected in the fourth quarter there? Zach Collins, he was. So they closed out with Isaiah Roby. And, Gorgie Zhang, cleanup crew. So, is there a world where Collins in a competitive game goes back to a 24-minute performance, and this game has a 5-point spread? So, maybe there's some merit to getting there. I don't think I need to invent reasons to play a certain guy on a slate this big. If at best I'm just going to be worried about it anyway, so I probably leave it alone. But something to think about as news starts to develop if we start losing like Sohan and stuff like that. Josh says, I had to referee 3 Little League basketball games this morning starting at 10 a.m. I'm tired, boss. Yo, Josh, you be calling fouls or what? Would rather get the pal? Yeah, I don't mind that, Steven. Lakers at the Celtics. Project 25 for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverly, Troy Brown Jr., LeBron James, Anthony Davis, maybe. Joseph DeAndrea, appreciate the sub. Taking on Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford and the Time Lord Robert Williams. So in that last game for the Lakers, so you got, let's bring it up, minute rotation here. Powell will be over-owned. I would go to Precious. So I don't know what the ownership looks like now with the Anunoby news out. But I think Precious is not going to be low-owned. So we'll see. So that last game, Anthony Davis came off the bench for 26 minutes. Has anyone seen anything in regards to what the plan is for Davis today? Davis on his report with the same foot that cost him the problem. So I think at best he's going to be on a minutes limit anyway. But I guess there's a chance that he can come off the bench is what I'm getting at. But I think the fact that he's limited versus LeBron James still being about 11K, it just kind of makes the Lakers hard to get to. So I don't get there. Schroeder's kind of had some pop games, but I don't think the Lakers are something I need to try to figure out on a slate this big when everyone has a pivot at their price point worth gravitating towards, right? On the Celtics side, I'm kind of keen on getting to Jason Tatum, just because this is a slate that it's because I can get there, I'll get there, right? I do have Sabonis, Siakam, Tatum, guys like that at the top of the projections, but there's not a lot of 12K guys tonight, right? I don't have to worry about reserving 8 to 15%, Jokic 20%, Luka, blah blah blah. Tatum against the Lakers just smells like a good spot, right? A play-up spot, narrative spot, averaging 31 plus points per game, and this Lakers defense has just been a good spot to attack. So I'm kind of interested in Tatum, but it's not really anything other than just a hunch for some ceiling, because I think there's a reasonable percentage of times that Tatum leads this slate in raw fantasy points, and 60 plus is not outside the realm of possibility. Jaylen Brown at 8,400 on FanDuel. I like that price point a lot as well. He will also be able to play with that same hype, that same narrative. So I like the FanDuel price point for something that could push 40 plus fantasy points. And I don't know if it would get lost in the sauce, but I think it could. I think a lot of people are pessimistic about playing one or the other a lot anyway. At 8,400 on FanDuel, we've talked about a couple 8K area guys. So for instance, if I sort the FanDuel projections and just kind of look for some of these 8K guys, Şengün is 8K, not the same position, but you get what I'm driving at. Jaylen Brown's up there. Spencer Dinwiddie's 8K without Luka Doncic. De'Aaron Fox is 8,300. Paul George is 8,600. Kuzma's 8,500 without Porzingis. We've seen him take 20 plus shot attempts. So there's a lot of competition at the 8K range. And even if we go a little bit further, Chris Paul's there without Devin Booker in a super plus spot. So I'm expecting tame ownership on Jaylen Brown. And because of that, I think I get to him at a decent amount on FanDuel as well. I don't know if I drive a wedge between the two today, probably because Tatum is 11.2. I don't see them coexisting a whole lot, but if I played them together, I would want to be walking away with 110 fantasy points. So I probably just go one or the other. And yeah, do you guys have any opposing thoughts on that? Are you guys full fading Lakers? Because I feel like that's the likeliest play for me here. Let's get caught up on chat. Robert Williams didn't go through shoot around. All right, that's pretty significant. I'm not hype on the chat because I'm working. I need my hands, but hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that, Charles. What up, Mighty Saint? Hope you're doing all right, Saint. Been giving some content. We've been doing really good this week with content. When I love some of my contractual obligations elsewhere, but when I'm free, it is nice to do some content here, and you guys showing up every day, being part of this community, having fun in chat means a lot. It really does. I love the fact that we can flip a switch here and have a couple hundred of us within an hour just vibing out, talking basketball. And I think, outside of some other spots, like I don't really see any egos day to day, man. You guys are all vibing out, bro, and I do appreciate that. I really love Love the community that we've cultivated here. High floor Tatum or LeBron? Whew, that's a great one. I would say today Tatum, right? LeBron. I would say if AD didn't start, that stabilizes Bron's floor a little bit. But Boston are 8.5-point favorites. All right, let's go. Let's look at this. Let's put the Lakers. My boy, Coach. Yeah, Coach, we have a collab. Now that I got some free time. I replied to you on Twitter. I don't know. I haven't looked at Twitter in a little bit. Sorry. So let's go LeBron. Let's just look at the two distinctions, right? Let's put LeBron on the court, AD off the court. Love that all the picks end up saying on this slate. It is kind of fun. LeBron James, 1.6 fantasy point per minute with a 35% usage rate without Anthony Davis. And now we put Anthony Davis on the court, assuming that they're on the court together. LeBron's numbers go down to a 1.32 on the season with a 30% usage rate. So you lose about 5%. With that said, yes, they staggered a little bit last game with AD coming off the bench. So for the first rotation, AD and LeBron didn't play alongside each other until the start of the second quarter, and Westbrook was on the court as well. And then in the third quarter, AD didn't play alongside LeBron James to start. So there's enough stagger between the two that I think it's probably still worth playing LeBron because the minutes should still be there. But 25 to 28 minutes of Anthony Davis is just enough to splash and ripple effect everything to make his floor-ceiling ratio a little bit more erratic and a little bit riskier. So I would probably say the safer floor feels like Tatum, but it's perfectly fine if you disagree with that. But that would probably be my lean. I don't think I'll be there. And Keith, I think it's also perfectly fine to stay out of the double digits tonight, right? On DraftKings, can't play Luka. LeBron has pushed back with AD. Tatum's Tatum. Damian Lillard, sure. If he ended up not getting there and he didn't drop 50 real points, AD's on a minutes restriction. Sabonis is knocking on that door, and I'm getting a really good projection out of him. But if you let this slate be a little bit more balanced, I don't see a reason, or I don't, have a reason to push back at you and disagree with you vehemently. So, I think there's going to be a couple unique ways to roster construction tonight, like Tatum over LeBron. That's my lean. Jazz hosting the Dallas Mavericks, 9 p.m. Eastern tip-off for this one. Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, taking on Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Markkinen, Kelly Olynyk, Walker Kessler. But this might be wrong, right? Why did I put Michael Porter here? That's not right? What did I do wrong here? Vanderbilt would probably start, right? I pulled that from RotoWire. I'm dumb. Let's see. Oh, maybe. No, Beasley started the last game with Markkinen down. So let's put Larry Markkinen at the. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Kelly Olynyk start? I wouldn't start if it was me. See, me personally, I wouldn't start Olynyk over Kessler after this stretch. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I do think Olynyk's return is just enough to make me less interested in their front court. This is Olynyk will suit up for Saturday's game against the Mavericks. Olynyk is set for his first game action. Blah, 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 blah. It's unclear if he will face any restrictions following the multi-week layoff, but the big man should play a sizable role when his conditioning is up to snuff. I'm going to assume a 28-minute per game center who missed 20 days is probably not going to be ready right off the rip. but I don't quite know how to project it. If Kelly Olynyk did start, and I think this is very topical because Dwight Powell is looking like he's going to become pretty trendy today. If Olynyk started, the matchup is exponentially better. So I say that to say this. Dwight Powell is too cheap regardless. But check this out. Let's go Kelly Olynyk defensive rating this season. $114.8. Walker Kessler defensive rating this season. 110. So a 4 or 5 point difference in defensive rating individually, and a lot of the really, really bad Utah Jazz defensive metrics when it comes to bleeding points in the paint. A lot of that is on the back of Kelly Olynyk. So I would say if Olynyk usurped Kessler in the starting lineup tonight at the 5, it's more of a positive for Dwight Powell. But Dwight Powell is too cheap that I wouldn't let that be a reason I overthink it, but it would make me feel better to see a Olynyk in a starting lineup. So let's make some sense of the Mavericks now, because this is a team that's missing probably their 2 best offensive weapons in Luka Doncic and Christian Wood. I don't really know how to project it other than Dinwiddie is probably the guy, and then you hope Tim Hardaway Jr. also kind of gets there. Tim Hardaway Jr. has a Karis LeVert feel to him. You know what I mean? So let's put Dinwiddie on the court. AK Dinwiddie is actually crazy. 18-20 minutes, Paul. I think that's fine. Paul, you have got to... You have had to have a lot of Beatles references in your life, because that's what I read at first. Christian Wood, that's what we want. Take off Christian Wood and Luka and put Dinwiddie on. My nose is itching today. 28% usage. No, that ain't right. It still shows me Christian Wood. Come on, Wowie. Here. What up, CT? Where are we at on likes, guys? 61? The real ones, only the real ones can click the thumbs up. It's a thing we installed in the YouTube settings for this channel. So if you're wondering if you're a real one, see if it lets you hit the thumbs up. If it does, it means you're a real one. All right, let's try it again, because I don't think it was working. Let's go Christian Wood off, Luka Doncic off. Don't have the money and I can't sing. Well, then you're only 2 things away from being Paul McCartney, so something to strive for. It's a Hardy day. I wish, man. That dude's G League numbers are nuts. I've taken stabs on him this season when he's drawn a spot start. Golly, bro. Is this just me, or is this going really, really slow? While we wait for that, I just feel like it's a cooking show. While we put that in the oven, let's go over here and work on our side dishes. And we're going to pull up the Dallas Mavericks minute rotations. And we're going to look at that very last game where the Phoenix Suns played them down to the wire in Phoenix. We saw 34 minutes of Dorian Finney-Smith, 36 minutes of Dwight Powell. Spencer Dinwiddie pushed 40 minutes, same with Tim Hardaway Jr. Jaden Hardy played a 5-minute stint in the second quarter, and JaVale McGee DNP'd. So, do we expect the Dallas Mavericks starters to be 35 to 39 minutes in a competitive game? I think I'm open to any response, but I lean closer to the yes, because these are clearly their best options to make stuff happen. All right, here we go. We came back. 34.5% usage rate for Spencer Dinwiddie, a little less than 200 minutes, 1.3 fantasy point per minute. And then Dwight Powell, 18% usage rate, a little over a fantasy point per minute, representing 19% of the team's total rebound percentage, total rebound opportunities. And then on top of all that, and I guess this final score, it was still a low-scoring game, But we know Luka Doncic, when you clock him, he's the slowest player in all of basketball. I think there's the pace can only go forward for the Mavericks here, especially with a game script that puts the sense of urgency for them to play from behind and play a little bit of catch up as 7.5 point road dogs. So could be more valuable in terms of projected possessions, right? But yeah, I got no pushback on Dwight Powell on both sides, but especially on DraftKings, that's looking like borderline lock. And then Dinwiddie, 7.4 to 8K. Hard to feel great about it because we're so used to him being 5-6K, but I mean, these are the numbers, right? You take the name off, and I give you 34% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy point per minute. You play that, and I think we just have to play that in a plus spot. It's that's how this team survives. Tim Hardaway Jr., what's the numbers on him in this split? We got a 24% usage rate, 0.8-ish fantasy point per minute, so that means he's a little bit more scoring dependent. 11 shot attempts against Phoenix. Yeah, he'll probably be in the pool. Dorian Finney-Smith had a massive game against the Suns for his price point. 16 shot attempts, 10 of them from 3. Just 3 hit. 12 rebounds. And his numbers here is 16% usage rate. So I would say if you ran that game a few times, if ultimately Dorian Finney-Smith without Luka in that split, if that last game was an anomaly, I wouldn't be stunned. Because for Dorian Finney-Smith to have 40 fantasy points in a game his team scored 99 is kind of crazy. Like, it's kind of crazy, especially when he shot just 3 of 10 from behind the arc. So what Maverick player do you guys feel least confident in tonight? Because it looks like they all might get trendy. Let me see. Let me go look at ownership. Bing bong.
Joe Blanco super chatted $10. You're my dude, Gundecker.
Joe, I appreciate that, man. That's love. Thank you, Joe. Joe Blanco. What is Blanco? Blanco means white. Does that mean white guy in Spanish, or am I tripping? So Dwight Powell is in 1 in every 2. Yeah, so all of the Mavericks, I want to say all of them, but there's a lot of Mavericks projected for 30 to 50% ownership. One of them's got to be a landmine, right? Who do you guys think it is? Good God. Hardaway, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dwight Powell. I guess we'd build backwards. I think Dinwiddie, points per dollar is probably Dwight Powell is the safest. Then Dinwiddie. And then it gets a little blurry. Is that where we get different? Like, if Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be in 1 of every 3 lineups at 4,400, and I'm not saying this to get you guys off of it. It just seems like there's no way all the Mavericks are going to be a success story tonight. They could, but it seems like they're not. Who do you guys think is the most fadeable? Vinny plays the 5 spot also, though. I mean, the rebound, yeah, I guess the rebounds there make sense, which is kind of crazy because they got JaVale McGee. So Dorian Finney-Smith, let's look at Dwight Powell. Yeah, opposite Powell here. There's a couple minutes. But there's, I mean, they all played a ton of minutes anyway. Dwight Powell. So he didn't play a lot of opposite Dwight Powell. There's like maybe 4 minutes here. So like, I guess, yes, he could, but Davis Bertans was also on the court. So I don't know. Subscribed for Guns cooking recipes. I don't want my recipes. My recipes come straight from prison. If I had to stock my shelves right now, we're grabbing ramen noodles, we're grabbing summer sausages, we're grabbing Doritos, crunching them up, throwing them in. Who out there knows what I'm talking about? Joe says, hey, brother, what do you follow that you get to up-to-date injury news on? The leader, the premier source for news, in my opinion, is Underdog NBA. And then News God is really good at it too, if you guys are familiar with News God from Stochastic. So those two, if you follow those two, you should have pretty much all things covered. Please hit the like. Yeah, please hit the likes. It means gringo. I know gringo means white guy, but I feel like Blanco also means right guy. Josh Green is your likely odd man out. TSA scares me since he's so scoring heavy. Dinwiddie will fail. I don't really like Dinwiddie to go off 2 straight games. Well, I just think the usage is there. It's one thing for Dinwiddie to be so inconsistent alongside Luka in a super slow-paced team, yada, yada, yada. But in this spot, Dinwiddie in charge. Yeah, me made a spread. Yeah, that's if I'm in charge. Usually I'm just DoorDashing something, but if I gotta cook, I'm a terrible cook, bro. It's almost time for a new girlfriend, just so I can have home cooking. Will Dallas be in the winning lineup, and how many do you think? I think yes. I think the most likely guy in the winning lineup on DraftKings is Dwight Powell. You can make a case that Dinwiddie's 40 fantasy points, isn't not a lock to be in the top lineup on FanDuel. If he got to 40 on DraftKings at that ownership, he's probably in the top lineup. But yeah. News God's amazing. Yeah, News God's really good. Gringo more so means U.S. citizen. Sometimes I match up with random dudes from Mexico on Fortnite, and they speak in Spanish and broken Spanish, and I'm mi gringo, me gusta taco. That's all I got. All right, let's see, 70 likes. We're not far from 100. What do we do here? Remind you guys, Royal Rumble tonight. So in honor of the Royal Rumble, we did the coupon that it can only be used up to 30 times. Once 30 people have used this code, it is no longer usable. It is the promo code Rumble for 30% off. 30 as in 30 entrants into the Royal Rumble. And it's good for any pass. So week pass, 2 week pass, month pass, all-star break, and then the year pass. The year pass is where this code gets broken. So this is a $500 pass with a $150 credit towards Fantasy Cruncher. If you click that pass, you go to have a coupon, yes, and I type the word Rumble, that 500 goes down to 350, tree fitty. You rebate that down another 150. Essentially, it's $150 for a year. That's insane. So I would probably take advantage of that if you guys wanted to hang out for the entire year in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord, in the pre-log voice chats, all that good stuff. Yeah, so, and don't wait, because only 30 people can use it, and my phone's been blowing up, so I'm assuming a couple of you guys have already gotten into using it. And then tonight, if you do get in the VIP Discord, we are doing Royal Rumble squares tonight. We do this every year, where you guys buy a square. Once we fill up to 30 squares, it's kind of like football. You get a random number, and then we watch tonight. Whoever comes out with your corresponding number represents you in the Royal Rumble. And it's not just who wins. We do like most eliminations, quickest eliminations, stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. So go check that out. Come be part of the community behind the paywall at RunDFS.com. Gringo means white boy. So does Guerrero. Blanco is just white in Spanish and can be a last name. Gotcha. I love the Spanish. Oh man, someone told me how to say hammer this morning and I forgot. I want to say it was God dang it, I can't think. Carlos says, I lived in Mexico again. My roots are in Mexico. Someone who is black from the U.S. is also referred to as gringo. Therefore, gringo does not mean white guy. Good stuff. One game left on the docket. Main event tonight, the Portland Trailblazers hosting the Toronto Raptors. Project 35 for the Raptors. Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG on a no. He got rolled out as we went live. So we'll put Scotty Barnes there, and then we'll get Precious Achua, and then we'll put Pascal Siakam. Up against Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant, Yusef Nurkic, a 231.5 total, 4.5 point spread, favor of the Portland Trailblazers. So, Precious Achua, 4,400. That's right there with Dwight Powell, and I think you could play him in addition to Dwight Powell. Actually, it's not right there with Dwight Powell. What am I saying? It's right there with Dorian Finney-Smith. Ooh, there's a good 1v1. Achua has had a couple opportunities, and we actually talked about him yesterday, and I was more so ultimately pessimistic because it felt like he was getting these minutes because of injuries, and sure enough, another injury happens, right? We go back to that Knicks game where Achua got 35 minutes. Well, that coincided with no OG Anunoby, and then the Kings game coincided with no Fred VanVleet, or the Kings game was 28 minutes. What was the reasoning there? Nope, he just had 28 minutes. Trent, Anunoby, VanVleet, Siakam, Barnes. All right, cool. I think it was the game before that. It had no VanVleet against the Celtics. Let me double check that, because I'm not losing my mind. There it is. Yeah, no VanVleet against the Celtics, and then no Anunoby against the Knicks, and then that game happened. Everyone was in, and then last night against the Warriors, everyone started healthy, and then Anunoby got hurt in the second quarter, and then Precious Achua, who was healthily part of the rotation, ended up starting the second half and then offered 36 minutes of work. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because there's probably a realistic range of outcomes that Achua could have got like 8 less minutes if Anunoby didn't get hurt. But if you played Achua last night just on recency bias, it worked out for you. Tonight, 4,400, center only on DraftKings. It's hard for this not to project decently well. I think 30 fantasy points is something that I would leap at the opportunity to get, and I think it's something that is probably going to be close to what the projection is. So yeah, he's looking like a real fun click. The downside with Achua is that he is center only, but I will say versus your typical slate, this is not a night where we need to lock up or reserve center for the high-end guys, the Embiids, the Vucevic's, the Jokic's, guys like that. So throwing away the center spot for the Dwight Powell and the Achua definitely just opens up a lot of salary cap to do whatever you want. So if we put Dwight Powell in and then we put Achua in, what does that do for salary? It gives us almost $7,000 per. Yeah, that's a lot of leeway to work around with. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where his ownership goes once the dust starts to settle on that news. All of the Raptors project for a ton of minutes. It's been that way. Siakam has actually been a guy that's bing bong.
Carlos Manzo super chatted $5. Yeah. Singing point prop is 20.5 on UD. Do you take the over?
Yo, the way she say year. What's the question? Hold on. Şengün's point prop is 20.5 on underdog. You take the over. Isn't it similar to what it is on PrizePicks? I'm certainly like interested. It's 20.5 on underdog as well, so that's a fair market value. I want to say I'd lean the over, just based on the absence of everybody and the Pistons front court defense being as bad as it is. But I'm not super confident. Like, I just think that's the right line. Probably, I would lean the over, but it's not a confident click. So the Blazers side, Damian Lillard, he does things. The end, right? What if my content was that? Yeah, Damian Lillard scores a lot. You should play him. 29, 19, 17, 21 shot attempts, 60 real points, 37, 24, 25, 44. You sunk my battleship. He, I think, is one of a handful of guys that I think it's fair to project as highest raw scorers on the slate. I think because he is scoring dependent, I think it comes with, I want to say scoring dependent, because scoring is a big part of his big ceiling nights. It's fair for the median projection to not be as aggressive as some of these other peripheral floored guys. But Lillard has a real chance to be a top dog. And you saw last night, Steph Curry, a similar guy that in minutes and usage and scoring propensity was a top 2, top 3 fantasy scorer on the slate. So Damian Lillard certainly somebody that I think we could throw in our late night hammer candidates. And since right now it feels like a up at guard, down at center. Slate, I think it makes sense to leave a little bit of room for Lillard. Where's Lillard at in ownership? Right on the nose of 10% where I'm looking. So, yeah, okay. All the Raptors, some Dame. And do we think... I usually don't like to play in the Chris Boucher streets. But do we think if we personally invested in a decent chunk of Achua, playing across Jeremy Grant, Yusuf Nurkic, is there a chance that one of Achua or Siakam could get into foul trouble and then Boucher could enjoy 20-plus minutes? Last night, Boucher, second half, not a ton of minutes, but did get around 20. The game prior, Boucher, 22. Many of it was directly alongside Precious Achua. The game prior, where we had some absences and Achua started, Boucher got to 23 minutes. And the game prior, where Achua started, Boucher got to about 20 minutes. So I think... Would you hedge any... If you were real heavy on Achua tonight, would you hedge with a little dab of $3,600 Chris Boucher? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just genuinely curious how you guys would process that. And he's forward eligible. It's a lot more fun when they're forward eligible, because his per minute production is really doggone good. And sometimes you lose a little bit of steam coming off the bench going into the starting lineup because everybody else has high usage. And, people lose sight of that. So I might be a little bit more interested, not more, but I'm interested in getting to a little Boucher just when you think it's safe. Look at me talking myself into Chris Boucher. All right. Looking at 2v2 Sabonis and Cam Johnson or Tatum Precious. Ooh. I probably lean the second one, but I think that's fair. Duran over Şengün? What? What? Who do you like? Gun for props? Let's see if we can tackle a few. Dame on here, yeah, he is. All right, so that's what we got on the full slate. So if you guys got any questions, comments, concerns about the slate, throw them at me. Maybe we can task ourselves with 3 picks from what we were looking at. Let's see, what do I remember us calling out? I was hoping they would drop like Avisa rebounds, but I don't think they are. Let's refresh just in case. Do you think Little plays more if Josh Hart is out? Yes. Let me see. What's the Josh Hart news? Nas, Little, Gary Payton would be in extra playing time if he's sidelined. So right hamstring tightness. So you're trying to queue up Nas. You can hate me now. Little. 32 minutes against Utah. Didn't do much of anything in those minutes. So I guess the short answer is yes. So yeah, I'm gonna see if they added Denny to the board. Probably not though. Nope. I want to get in strike on Avisa rebounds, but I don't think they're gonna give it to us. And we don't have any T-Wolves stuff yet. Waiting on that news. And I want to get in on Ayton based on how pure this matchup is. That's kind of rough. How about Ayton? What can we get on Ayton first half? 9.5 first half points. 18.5 first half fantasy. Just smoking it the last 2 games, and this is such a pure spot. I'm kind of, and it's not a last 2 games decision, but we've, to recap, and we did this query earlier. First of all, San Antonio Spurs giving up the most points in a paint in all of basketball. A top 3 amount of fantasy points per game to opposing centers. And DeAndre Ayton, without Devin Booker, leads the team in usage and permanent production. It's like 1.3, right? 1.2 fantasy points per minute. We put Paul on the court with him. We can kind of create him some more opportunities. You could switch to Boucher. If you gave me the same minute projection on Nas Little or Chris Boucher, I'm going Boucher every single time. And I would even say that there's like, Boucher's got to be like a 1.1 to 1.2 per minute guy, and Nas Little is like a 0.6. Those are just obscure numbers. Don't fact check it, but maybe do fact check it. 1.15, 29% usage right there for Ayton. All right, so my gut's telling me Ayton first half. DeAndre Ayton first half over 18.5 FPS, or I think 9.5 points. And there's a little bit of tax because I think 36.5 was their line, but I kind of like that. Şengün's gonna. I do like Şengün a lot. I do think everything's priced about right, but I do like him a lot. And Dinwiddie. What's Dinwiddie props at? Dude, they got Dinwiddie at 21.5 first half fantasy point. That's Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's the homie though. Even though they have him at 25.5 real points. Holy crap, bro. That's just a sight. 42.5 fantasy, bro. They are not. Oof. Sami Zayn gonna win the Royal Rumble? Maybe. Let's see. Do we think the Pistons throw out that same lineup? Alec Burks? Nope, they don't have Alec Burks. Cool, lit. Dude, they're kind of holding back on us, huh? What do we got on Vooch? 39.5 fantasy points. I kind of do like that. I'm getting almost a 10-point gap in projection, so that actually seems like something's broken. Over 39.5 FPS. Maybe when I tweak, I'll run back and look at it. What else we got? Oh, Clint Capella. So I said with Okongwu back, one of the things that I worry about Capella going forward is getting benched in the fourth quarter. So this is probably not something that's tangible from here. But if you are the live sweat type, maybe Capella's second half fantasy is something we can take the under on. I guess Capella did close out that last outing, but that was against the Thunder. The Thunder don't really play to win. There's something to keep an eye on. But that's kind of cheating. I want a palpable third pick here that we can jump on. What about Beal or Tatum? All right, so we've talked about how Beal just seems to be stuck at about 30 minutes. Tatum's more likely to play 40. But I just don't go after those superstar studs. I mean, Tatum's effing averaging 31 minutes per game. 31 points per game. So, oof. His fantasy score is 51.5. I mean, that's top shelf stuff, right? I don't like to order off the top shelf. I don't drink, by the way, so I hope that phrase is right. I assume the top shelf is all the good alcohol, because I always hear top shelf liquor. I'm assuming that's what that is. Someone can explain the nuances. If we get some T-Wolves news, if D-Russ props will come in at like 40 or less, or like 39.5, which it probably won't, I'd probably be intrigued in that. What do you have Malik Monk projected on FanDuel? I have him for about 20 right now. Expensive stuff. All right, there we go. Here come all the alcoholics popping up. I'm just kidding, y'all. I love y'all. How about Chris Paul assists? I don't know. 10 assists. Dude, you remember last year when PrizePicks offered the double-double bonuses? Why they stopped doing that, bro? I love those. I have Paul for just under 44. They have him at 38.5. There's a little bit of a gap for me there. I'd be somewhat interested. You ever want to that spin rack crap? Chad, I think you guys already know this, but I've never, ever in my life been drunk. Ever. But it's one of those things where I'm sure an old wise man would tell me to experience everything once. So one of these days we'll do like, I don't know. I don't even think I should. I want to say like live stream me finally getting drunk for the first time or something stupid like that. I feel like there's money to be made somehow in that. You don't want to see that. All right. I wish I could have a better variety of picks here, guys, but a lot of stuff is locked up right now. I want to get it on the T-Wolves, but we're not going to have them for now. So right now I'm just gonna jot down DeAndre Ayton. I don't mind his full game fantasy. I also don't mind the first half fantasy if we're worried about blowouts or minute restrictions. Seems like he's been getting about 16 minutes in the first half. Maybe we take the full game because the full game for him was like 36, right? But I mean, he's getting to work quick. I don't know. You didn't drink beer in high school? Nah. I was always proudly straight edge. I'm like the one kid the DARE program worked on, you know? I signed that paper. The commitment to not drink. God dang it. I can't break a contract. When I win the Millie Maker, maybe. I don't play the Millie Maker. Paul George. If Kawhi was out, I'd feel better, but it's just like they're all in. Paul George is at 42.5 fantasy points. That's about right. That's a tight board tonight, guys. Sometimes you gotta pick your battles. If stuff starts to develop later on, I'll try and post a third or fourth pick in the free Discord. But also try to post it in the paid Discord as well. But right now, the stuff I want to attack is not on the board. Even the Pistons, like I want to get it on the Pistons here, but they're restrictive on that. And then we'll see what the Rockets starting lineup is. All right, chat. Let's get the likes up. There won't be a stream tomorrow. It's Sunday. It's the day off. We'll be back in the grind Monday. But the party's not done, man. We got Royal Rumble tonight. We're going to try and fill up these squares. We got the Royal Rumble coupon code. Can only be used 30 times. So if you're out there wondering if you should try it, man, 30% off anything is such a huge discount, especially the year pass. Getting it down to like $350, I think is what we said. That's pretty stupid. Plus the 150 credit towards Fantasy Cruncher. So that's probably going to be the best deal of the entire year. Like I can't see a deal beating the year pass with the coupon, but it is a limited amount of usages. So jump on it quick. I am going to get out of here. If you guys haven't checked it out already, we put up a standalone video yesterday, a little bit more shelf life. It's called How to Hack the DraftKings Lobby to Be Instantly More Profitable. A couple of pointers in that video from the DraftKings Player First Initiative. Check it out when you get time later on. It might help you shop for some better expected value contests on DraftKings tonight. Outside of that, anything else, man? I appreciate you. What up, Ryan? I appreciate you, buddy. Started watching a week ago. You're the best. You're the best. I'll catch you guys on Monday afternoon. Hope you guys get rich tonight. I appreciate you making part of my afternoon, be part of your afternoon. Tell somebody out there you love them because you just don't know. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.